Okay. So final integration, day 4 of 16. Template test, day 3 of 5. Body speed up phase, day 1 of 16. So that's probably part of what you're feeling with the body stuff. And then 5-point personality structure influx. That's the first personality influx. Everybody's like, what is this? So
and the 555 gateway is coming in 2 days.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's just showing up in all different ways. And it's literally literally a new truth every day. Like everything that we could, every point of context, right? Every point that we could go, okay, that's there and that's there. You wake up the next day and it's all changed again. Like this, just like that, right?
It's happening really quickly. But like like the shifts are happening quickly. Like I find like when I'm working on something, like something will come in and it'll hit me so deeply, and the release it'll be like so deep, and then it's just gone just as quickly. I'm like, okay, I worked through that, cool. Like whereas before,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I talked about that last month when Morgan and I, in our experience of all the energy that I seemed to start around the 10th of March, I guess the equinox or whatever, but I was saying it on the show, I was like, God, this is really weird. It's like you get the energy blast, the download or whatever you want to call it, and you release. It's like it's all one motion, right? It used to be you get it, you go, you what do you call it? Process it, integrate it. There was a cycle, but now it's just like boom. It's like the awareness is the activation, right?
It is, but then it feels like, I feel like at least the stuff that I've been processing, right? Like it'll feel complete, but then it'll come around and then it'll be a deeper layer, right? Yeah. Like I know a lot of people I saw some comments on Jason's wall earlier about like the loop. Like I feel like I'm in a loop, and it's like, well, maybe you're in a loop, right? I can relate to that loop, but then maybe it's just you're going into it at a deeper level to heal it and clear it at a deeper level because you've cleared that piece, and now more
like a spiral. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I mean, it's true and not true, right? It's the great paradox. If the answer ends up in a paradox now, I pretty much go, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. I don't understand it, because you think of a paradox. Well, this is distinctly, this is what's being presented, but this is the truth. But it's a different kind of paradox. It's like this is what's being presented. This is the truth, but they both are. So you have to bring them in here, and it's weird.
Yeah, I just want to get this shared on my wall, actually, because I know some people were looking forward to it. So,
say it again. This is off Jason's intel. That's what you just said a minute ago, right? Is that
with the influxes?
Yeah. What are you going to post on your wall? Is that what?
Oh, just our live.
Oh, I thought you were going to post. Okay, I was going to say repeat it. Might as well. So so now that everybody's kind of coming in. Todd doesn't follow professional. Let's just go back to, because I was telling Skyelar and I got to know each other because she's Jason Estes's PR person. But we'd seen each other out there, I know. Anyway, she's very cool. I'm very, very pleased to be collaborating with her. She's a badass. That's all I can tell you. But I was telling her that after the last show, right toward the end of the last show, I you know how some of these downloads, you feel like you're going to get sick. You feel like you're in vertigo. You don't even know, because you feel like you're having a heart attack. It's just all of a sudden it comes boom, and I'm laying on the couch, and I'm like this, and I'm thinking, what in the hell's going on? But anyway, Jason has his intel, and you've compiled some of it. You said today's a very powerful day, so you want to just go through that again?
Sure. Yeah, I just updated my calendar because I assist on his wall, right? I do manage responses on there. And so at the beginning of every month, I have them in. And actually, because he kind of posted it late, or later than he normally does, usually it's a few days before, but he was off at CFE doing the tree planting event for CRM. So Todd, we planned this before I knew. Like if I would have looked at this list, I might have been like, I don't know about today. Because it's like, holy shit.
Holy shiitake mushrooms! Why didn't you tell me? You put us both in the field of danger.
And I have them all in red in my calendar, which is kind of funny too. So it's like alert. So we're in a final integration, day 4 of 16. Template test is day 3 of 5. So the template test is like the whole month served up kind of in the first.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah. So he would always say in the first 5 days of the month, you're going to get what the month's going to be about. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it's kind of like, it's sort of like a preview for the month, and you kind of see like what you can deal with, or you know, what you can handle. And if not, then it's the rest of the month will kind of be that. And then we just entered into a body speed up phase, which is the first day of 16. So the body stuff that you're feeling is likely a lot of that. Like when
first day of 16. So that puts me at the 19th. I'm afraid to travel now.
Well, have you been feeling like that sick feeling and kind of with your body? Have you been feeling that like before today?
No, I haven't been doing pretty good. And this was not a very, it was, let's say 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. But I don't think this has ever happened to me before. Maybe one other time that wasn't too long ago. Like when I said that wasn't too long ago, maybe in the last 10 days. But I was actually sitting in the chair thinking, I can't do this show. I'm going to faint or fly out of my body or die or mess my drawers or vomit or something's about to go down here. That's what it felt like. But I haven't had like prolonged. I have noticed that there's been a significant amount of purging in the physical in many ways, you know, just through fluid from the eyes and just, you know.
Yeah. I think in general that's happening, you know, whether we're in a body speed up phase or not. It's just with that, it's going to feel a bit more intensified and more resources are needed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been feeling that today too, a bit nauseous. I was feeling a little bit dizzy. I was like, okay, should I cancel this? Is Todd gonna cancel? I'm like, I just stepped away. I almost,
because we have a relationship and I don't know, I almost did that. I thought about it. Hey, I'm going to tell her, and no, I can't do that to her. And, you know, we show up, right? We all showed up on the earth. We all showed up to be here at this time. And one thing that this energy is teaching us in 2021 is it doesn't kill you, right? It really doesn't. Exactly. It you know, we're getting to this point where we're going, okay, what you got? I mean, come on. You know, we're getting to the end here. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Anyway, go back to the list because there was a couple other things I didn't want to
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot going on today. So aside from that, there's the 5-point personality structure influx. So that's a new one.
Allison from New York, and I just want to say, while I'm going to refer to her question that she asked in regard to the personality, I just want to say Allison is a very important part of Soulogy. Am I going to cry? What's going on? we're in this new consciousness. This beautiful sister sends, I'm just going to be upfront about it, and I hope she doesn't get upset, but she sends 1111 every month, every week. And every week she sends a synopsis of the week of the shows. And I swear to God, it came in last night. You know, I'm always in the work mode or I'm doing something. And, you know, we all have those thoughts of, you know, can you help us out? Can we make this a little easier? You know, or, you know what I mean? And I'll read it and it just lifts me. She's Soulogy. So thank you, Allison. She asked if you could explain the personality part of it, because I've never heard that either from him.
Yeah, so it's like anything that's not true about you and the way that you are and the way you show up in the world, that's going to get pushed on. Personality structure is also related to the teeth. So if you're feeling like pressure in the teeth, that could be why too. But it's like anything that's not true. I mean, anything that's not true in general with any of these influxes, that's what's getting pushed on.
But this is specific to the personality. Yeah. Yeah, I love what Franco said the other day, and I'm real excited to see Franco and Jason in the same room. That's going to be amazing because they're so alike. They just have a different way of speaking. But he was talking about, he actually had a revelation. Now, this is somebody who has memory from the womb, other incarnations on other planets. 36 years he's been out and, you know, doing this stuff back in the 80s. Anyway, he had this revelation the morning that we did the show, and he talked about how when he was a kid, he was never congruent with his parents because they were very much, you know, indoctrinated, right? So he had this epiphany that morning that he had created a wall, right? So in that space between his true self and what he had to become, to participate over here, he created a face, basically a personality. And he realized that morning, and this is profound to be happening to any of us in this time, because this is the kind of stuff that's happening. He realized that face was still running in most of his connections, right? So this is what you're going to. And then the other thing you said about the teeth, I just want to validate. It's not a mistake. I'm getting a half a tooth pulled that broke, a tooth broke. And I knew there was some kind of connection. Now you're mentioning the teeth.
And it's important when that happens to fill that space with light, right? So it's not just it's gone. It's like, what can you do now to fill in that space with the healing process? But with the personality structure, it's true. It's like we've with all the programming and anything growing up, or how, like I've been doing a lot of processing even around my past career. And now that I'm doing similar work with a lot of the communication side of it, right? And managing projects and stuff. And I thought I was going to move fully into like the healing work. Like I had started my business and like energy work and working with clients. And then it was like, that was put aside. This opportunity with Jason came along, and the work that I'm doing, I didn't think I was going to be doing again. And it's like stuff that I need to release that was a part of my past marketing career that, like, in terms of personality stuff that I'm feeling and seeing coming up. And it's like, well, that's not working anymore.
Right.
Right. It's like anything, whether it was when you were a kid and you were in school, or it was work, like any of that shit that just isn't true to you and how you want to how do you want to show up in the world? And I asked myself, like, that's where that great pause comes in, and taking a step back and really like, does this feel like, if this doesn't feel good, why? This isn't me. And then recalibrating it and showing up differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I'm digging this. So it's along the same lines of what he was talking about. And I can see it now myself and other people in this time period that you're talking about. So it's and then the other thing that I find kind of interesting is there's these, what would you call it? Inspirations coming in. So like you were saying, okay, this is a typical thing in society and in expectations of my journey, or regarding the fusion of my old career with what I'm doing now, something like that. And you walk into it, like you said, you go, why doesn't this feel right? And now we've learned, okay, don't do it. But by the same token, there's these things that pop in, go do this, go do that, and they don't make any sense. But they make all the sense in the world, right? Is that what an insight is? Is that what you were referring to?
It's kind of like what we think we need to be doing versus what's actually in front of us, right? Like when I was trying to get my business going, I was like, I need to do this thing. I need to fully release this old career. This is not for me anymore. Like it was an all or nothing approach. And by trying to force this thing, I was kind of falling over. Like it wasn't working. It wasn't time to step into that type of work, right? It was so new for me. So I instead took a step back. I started MTVO coursework, which I'm like, tomorrow's my last day. It's been almost a year of basic level series. And it's like, this is huge for me. It's been life-changing. Congratulations. Yeah, it's awesome. And I'm like, I'm dedicating this work to myself to be the best me I can, to show up for my clients. And in the midst of that, this opportunity with Jason came up, which I'm still helping people. It might just not have looked the same way as I thought it was going to. And this may even transform, as everything does. But by doing what's actually in front of me and showing up and doing the best I can do in each moment with things that I might not have wanted to do in my past. Like I've had to start kind of from the bottom and work my way up. I've had to earn it. He talks about that all the time. So it's been beautiful. And then the insights, we've had insight influxes. So when you talk about these insights coming through, and for me, it's been like connecting all these dots with things. It's been pretty awesome. It's happening more and more. There's so much more clarity coming through, right?
I know that's been going on a while. There's, it's just, I've been saying since last month, and just for me, it just absolutely sometime last month became a different experience. It became a different world. I became a different consciousness. I don't know how to say it, but all the math, all the language has changed. It doesn't operate the same way. The connections are not going to be the same. and it's happening from the beginning. Like you said, it's right in front of you, and something doesn't feel right, and you get something else. It's a lot like a microcosm of all of our stories. If you look at the overall bend of our stories, 2012, let's just say 2012 forward, we all did things that didn't make sense. We all stepped against the grain, and I guess in a way it was the build up to full blown sovereignty.
My best friend at the time, like through high school years and everything, she actually passed away in 2011. So 2000 from then in 2012 was like a huge downward spiral for me.
Yeah.
And I got to a rock bottom point almost probably just over 5 years ago, where I finally reached out for help. But yeah, that was that was one of the roughest years, probably like 2012, 2013, 14.
Yeah. You know, some of these stories, and feeling that, and my story, same as yours. In fact, there's a reason you bring this up. There's no coincidence, because I was talking to someone last night who's in that. Be careful what I say, but anyway, I get. We really designed. I mean, it's genius. We designed the dark night of the soul, and some of us, you know, just went deep. Right? That's all you can say. But anyway, I was talking to somebody last night, very close to me, and they're in that place. And the thing that was so interesting about it is that I've known them a very long time. They're aware of they're aware of the world we swim in every day. They're aware of consciousness. They've had interactions, you can call divine, whatever, but they're in there, right? And I was just looking at this situation, and I was remembering what you're talking about, and it was deep. I wonder why that's coming up. Hey, Skyelar. But I mean, it's a good thing.
It is a good thing. And it's that realizing that we created it. Like you said, we designed it. That's one of the hardest things when people first start on their healing journey, right? Getting out of the victim mode to realize, like, this was my creation. Why did I create this, right? That was one of the hardest things for me to accept. And sometimes I'm still working on acceptance around that, of course, right? We all are. But
those are our biggest opportunities right now. I mean, we look at them different, like you said.
Exactly.
Anything we see out there, anything, any person, any event, anything. Well, you said it already. Why do I feel uncomfortable when I look at her face? Why do I feel uncomfortable when somebody sent me this? You know what I mean? It's not about them. It's about me. Because whatever comes at me, in the perfect design, which we are, we're like the eye in the hurricane. Doesn't matter what we're looking at. I was talking to Morgan, because this has been so fascinating, this energy and the way we've experienced over the last few weeks. And I said, this is really weird. And I don't know if I can say this right, but it's like before we got to this point, we were the imbalance, and we were perceiving everything out here as the balance, right? So we were trying to balance based on this imbalance. And now we're bringing the balance from the core to an unbalanced environment that we're not pushing away or damming or separating. We just understand that it's going to convert as we do, right? And that's a long way. That's a lot of words to say, like 4 words that came in. I still don't have it right.
It's true, though. And like that part you said about whatever is being shown or coming up to, okay, so this is pushing on me. Why is this pushing on me? It's for me to figure out. And unless I accept it, really truly find acceptance and move out of that judgment and come into neutrality, then it's going to push harder.
Yes.
Till it gets your attention, right? It's going to be first. Then just step back and just take a minute.
Yes. Yeah. First you get tapped, then you get nudged, maybe a little elbow, and then you get a universal 2x6 across your head. And it's not like it used to be, just like you were talking about these, you know, like what I was trying to describe is like, it's like the awareness comes in and the transformation takes place simultaneously. Well, that used to be a really long cycle, and getting these 2x4s hit to the back of the head used to be long. They used to be like the beginning of the 5-year dark night of the soul thing. But now they can come every day.
Well, because we have to master this, right? Like with the data points going off the chart and the energy coming in, like we kind of have no choice, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you gotta do the work in order to, to keep moving forward.
You cannot avoid it. Nobody gets out alive, and nobody gets left behind. Totally. Everyone's signed up, and I remember being told 10 years ago in my thing, and it was, they'd say you cannot miss a step on the soul highway. Doesn't matter who you are. There's no shortcuts. There's nothing. You cannot miss a step, period. And they'd say, go post that.
I love it. I meant to post it last night. Actually, I woke up and it was still on my screen. I fell asleep with like the lights on last night.
Did you really?
Oh man, I was like wiped right out. I think because I've been working till like 4 a.m. lately. And last night my body was like, nope, you are going to fall asleep during your practices with everything on. Anyway, but I was watching one of your videos because it showed up in my memories from last year. You were doing your spirit walk. I can't remember what you call.
Yeah, spirit walk.
You were in front of a boat that said magic.
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah.
So good. I still got to go back and repost. I was in the flurry with work stuff, but I don't know why I'm bringing that up.
That's the ascension. It's the ascension. But from what you were saying, I was going to ask you a question. Now, obviously, Morgan's, her clock, she's on a different timeline, different time zone, different hemisphere.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought I was staying up late because we talk, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I can stay up to 3 or 4 or whatever, right? But I'm also working. So I'm wondering, but based on what you just said, is that changing too? Right? Like, are we going to sleep, because I remember the same thing happened to me about a week ago, and I went like 3 hours, 2 hours, 4 hours, and then the next day, 14 hours. I mean, what's happening with it? Does he talk about the biology aspect of the biological cycles and so on? Are they changing?
Yeah, like I know for Jason, like he's talked before about that sleep cycle where like he'll go to sleep like closer to the morning hours and then sleep for a bit. That's pretty normal, and that the energy at night can be quite different. So I've been noticing that shift lately too, where I'm up much later. But even last night, I fell asleep for a couple hours. Then instead of being up till 4, like I think I fell asleep around 10 or 11, woke up around 4 or 5, worked for like another hour or 2, and then slept for like 5 or 6 hours. Like it just.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and you would think with this type of intermittent, mysterious type of sleep pattern, whatever, non-traditional, that you would be all tired and off planet and walking around like a zombie. But that's another thing I've noticed. The energy level is changing as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I work in my sleep also.
We're doing a lot in our sleep.
Yeah.
I'm what we call sleep, no doubt. Are you having any how do I say this? So are you having any of your multidimensionality kind of like come in while you're functioning in a conscious state? Are you having anything different occur like that? I guess another way to put it would be like sometimes we sit, like you're going through the MTVO course, or you sit with your brother and we do a little session, or like something like Soulogy Facts. You know what I mean? Where you go and seek that connect, but like where it's just coming in, it's coming online as a normal thing, I guess is what I'm saying. Are you seeing anything like that?
I've noticed recently, and I think this has to do with the coursework and kind of where I'm at with that and the journey, because it's MTVO, for anybody that doesn't know. It stands for Masters of the Void Organization, right? So we are mastering the void. So it's been such a shift for me to play in that space versus where I started on my journey. After it's almost 5 years sober for me. It'll be in June. So, but when I started that, and then like a year or 2 later, I got into energy healing work. It was almost like I was seeking out, like when I learned that, I'm channeling, like it's happening naturally. I didn't know I was doing that. Like all these things I was very excited, as most of us are in this early part of the journey. And it was almost like I was seeking out those experiences, or like really excited to work with clients and really go there. Whereas I've taken a step back, and it's more like settling into the human. Like, I know you've talked a lot about that too,
Yeah.
how important that is, and grounding. So that's been sort of the difference for me. I'm not like seeking it or forcing it. So what I experience is a very natural connection with my divinity, and I'm feeling more of that come in just naturally with the coursework, because you're working through everything to clear out the space between you and your divinity, so the divinity can come into form, right? So I feel like that naturally is happening, and it's been this thing of like being in my flow or being in my divine flow. Which, side note, I love the last course I did, Pioneers of Consciousness. You actually get to write tech in it, and the tech that I wrote was called Divine Flow. And it's something that I've been working on mastering, and it's perfect because it's two extremes that I get to experience. Like when I'm not in my flow and I'm trying to like force something or control something, and a lot of that is that like past work vibe that I was in, versus I know when I'm in my flow, right? And everything can just, I'm in my flow, and that flow is also that divinity coming through. So I think what I'm trying to say is like I'm experiencing it in that way when I'm in flow, and I'm like,
that's what I'm talking about, and it is natural, and we sustain it for longer periods of time. Well, I might be taking it a little bit further and saying I'm seeing, like within that natural evolution. I agree with you. This is happening. It doesn't matter. It's just a matter of how you want to go through it. If you want to resist it, you want to do what but there's like little flashes, I guess. Just like the energy that I was telling you about earlier. That was a very physical example of the energy and the multidimensional experience I'm talking about. It's what you said. It's what you said. Yeah.
I've been seeing more, so to like give you some physical examples, I guess, like I've been seeing rainbows in the sky more, like different colors. I've been seeing more flashes. Like I'm like, especially a few days ago, I'm like, there's a lot of fairies around me, like just the little flashes and the energy I've been feeling. Like I'm definitely seeing more magic physically, and Jason calls that dimensional sight. So I think that's coming online a lot more, aside from the general, like the knowing and the connection and just that flow I was talking about. Somehow it's hard to explain energy sometimes, but
well, yeah, because everything's changing. The way the language is changing, the communications, the connections, the knowing. That we have more. You could say we have more confidence in our intuition. We have more continuity because of telepathy. We're trusting that part of us that got us here in the first place, basically. And there's enough of us now. I think there's enough of us now who've cut through the bullshit, and I'm just being frank. And if we haven't removed all the mask, we're working on it every day. And there's something about intention that, to me anyway, this year, that's gotten really big. Like intentions, aligned intentions. First of all, misaligned intentions, you're going to get a lot more than a 2x6 across the head, because the universe ain't playing now. But aligned intention, especially where two or more gather, we have no idea. I mean, these are like stargates. Yeah, like if you take something like Soulogy Fest, or even something virtual online, you're talking about an incredible amount of pure intention, well-meant intention from the heart. And we don't have the experience in this incarnation or the math or language to explain what will come from that.
Well, it's wild because we're feeling it. Like I know pretty much everyone on this live, I'm sure, can relate to this, how spread out we feel around the world, right? We're all like, why am I still in Toronto? Really? Like what? Why? But, and we have such powerful connections, like even like this from a distance. But if there is no distance, right? So I can only imagine when we start coming together in the physical, and like, I already feel Soulogy Fest is just going to be epic. Again,
right on. Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool for people, even if like they watch it online, to see, because we're gonna broadcast stereo sound. I mean, it's like 34 hours, 39 hours. So to see Jason, to see Franco, to see all these different parts of us in the same physical space itself is a physical experience within itself. For the observer, this is a physicalization, from any person's, perspective that's viewing of energetic observation, of gathering code, of seeing our mirrors, and also seeing that collective energy, that collaborative, creative energy, unbridled. And some, we might be experiencing things that we've only experienced on an individual level, but in a group, I mean, we could see an apparition that everybody sees. We could see, who knows?
Infinite possibilities.
That's right. I mean, I really feel like this thing's about to blow. When I say thing, I'm talking about the whole thing. I think we probably underestimated how much work we've done. And I firmly believe that we've accelerated timelines and created new, more magical ones. And the universe is just going, holy shit.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you guys watch out.
Yeah.
I love how you and Jason were talking about how, okay, so we're in the thick of the storm, everybody's feeling that. And then as we move into, then like your event, like you can't make this shit up, right? Like if you think about the timing that you guys were talking about and how the energy is from the storm is going to be tapering off by then. And then from June forward, it's like he was saying how it's like that reverse spin from last year, like instead of all the crazy banana stuff that happened and started to go one way, it's like reversing that. So I can only imagine. It's like you guys are like kicking off the party for this awesomeness.
Yeah, that was crazy when I called him and Franco both. They both told me the same thing. They said, man, you could not ask for a better date than this. And then my own experience in 2009, that has been the biggest week every year. And in the first 5 years, like you, it was pure hell. I mean, if something bad was going to happen, it happened between 2011 and 2014 in the last week of May. But then, and I knew, and they told me it's going to turn. It's going to turn. In the 2015, I met Morgan, and so all that. But so when they said that, I was like, oh man. And then I've had other confirmations from people. This is one physical representation of what's happening. Or you could look at it another way. You got Skyelar, you got Todd, you got Morgan, you got Jason, you got whoever, right? We all have this trajectory. And in that trajectory, there's a common energy. There's a common flow. There's a uniformity. So all these people have done it. And now we're pulling this stuff together, be it virtual or physical. And more frequencies are coming in. It's getting compounded. This concentrated energy is just getting compounded. It's going to explode. I absolutely believe this year we're going to see some amazing things. Maybe not on a wide scale, but we're going to see a Skyelar or a Robert Evans or Alina Sanchez or Haley Bell. We're going to see people do some amazing things. And then it's just going to be contagious. That's a real virus. Yeah,
totally. Well, it's for people realizing that they have the power. They have their own power. It's just realizing it. Like it's just right in front of you,
Yeah.
And it's like not giving that power away anymore.
Right.
And healing the times where you did and just claiming your power back and like, no, I can do this. Like we are free.
Right. Right.
People don't realize because of what they're seeing on the outside. But
that's right.
Yeah.
I was told 10 years ago when I woke up, I was told, keep it simple. There is one, period. Number two, you're all one unique and equal soul. I'm like, good. And three, that there was a perfect divine order. And then I said, okay, what is that? And they said, basically, essentially, the golden rule, And to me, that's what we've come to this point that you're describing as, wow, this is what I can do. And okay, what are the rules for this? Oh, well, it's a really short list. Stay in your own lane and mind your own fucking business. And that's it. Because if I'm not, we observe things. We obviously do that. But it's another thing to observe and then judge. We're quantum. We're not old egoic human. We're quantum. And we now have the responsibility to observe, bring it in creativity, magic, and collaboration, and project it back out. And now our physical actions are aligning with that.
Yeah. Well, the more that you're outside of yourself and getting caught up in other people's storms or whatever that is, it's going to backfire. It backfires every time.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, okay, what is, and sometimes it's challenging. Like you think that's so polarizing, like that, whoa, that is so bad. That there is some, if you're feeling it, if you're feeling that charge, it's like, there's something in that for you. What is it? We've all been everything, like you said. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, you know, I was sitting here trying to decide if I was going to be able to get off the couch before this show, like I said, and I just flipped on the videos on Facebook, and this one popped up, and it's all about some of the dark stuff, and I haven't been watching that stuff. I've put it in a certain place, and I'm good. You know, but it's there, and it's coming out. Everything's coming out, and that includes the things closest to us. Nobody's getting out alive. Everything will be unveiled. That's what apocalypse means.
It has to come up and out, right out of yourself. It has to be purged. You're feeling all this stuff in your body. It has to be released. That's why. That's all it's showing you. You know,
that's
just tap it out. You know, you feel pain or whatever works for you, but like that's what it's all about. Before the show, so I was like also in it, and so I stepped away from work. I did some of my practices instead. I usually do some in the morning and then sometimes throughout the day, whatever I'm feeling, again, in the flow. And I was listening to music, like music was really healing for me, and it's just a part of my flow, and it's a whole other thing. But yeah, the music I was listening to that I normally do, like I'm sure you remember from, I think it was Christy and I talking on your live, how we're into deep house music.
Yeah.
It's like our jam, right? But, and I had some like Afro house on, and I'm like, this is like too much for me right now, like energetically. And I put Sade on, and I totally just like got into my flow. So I love how easily like music can also help us shift things or,
yeah. I'm big on the music. Like I spend like last night I spent 2 or 3 hours playing with music. But what you said has happened to me, and I found that kind of interesting. Was there's certain go-tos that I've had, and I love all kinds of music, but I have a certain, like, let's say top 100 or top 50. They could be anything. And I'm finding that I can't listen to them. Like, it just doesn't match my energy. I still love it, you know, and music's been huge during periods of transformation, especially. And then I'll find something, like last night, all I could listen to was neoclassical, which has the progressive rock type drums, like boom, boom, boom. And then the music's like this, and then, you know, it starts doing crazy stuff. I'm like, whoa. Yeah, music is the shit dizzle. That's what it is.
So have you found because you're a musician, also I see the guitar behind you, and I know you have your spoken word and your, you know, you write. And so have you noticed a shift in that, in your creativity and the type of like stuff you're writing or producing?
Yeah, actually, I started for about 2 to 2.5 years. It was very sporadic, like just, you know, turning over a lot of old stuff as it would come up, not really being able to plug in that creativity. I think Morgan and I were working on a lot of stuff, right? You know, there was a lot more. It's Soulogy, it's the show, and my relationship and me, right? That's kind of how it was. But I think what happened was sometime around the equinox, I plugged back in, and I was like in the cave, man. I was like in the cave, and I'm like, whoa, this is cool. And I knew something was happening. And what happened was I came in, and Michael Mejia's mother passed, right? She transitioned COVID, first part of the year. She came in and like sat next to me. And then Michael did. And I went into, and I was feeling this big, you know, the grief thing, which was interesting because the last time I was really, really creative, that was a part of it. Grief, you know, the transmutation of grief. Anyway, so I ended up writing this poem. And he called me the next day. He's like, holy shit. And the first part of the poem says, fear has nothing on grief. And the whole poem's about, what the fuck am I afraid of? I'm soul, you know? So something that's again, no coincidence. You asked me that question. It just happened. And when I think about it in the context of your question, I'm thinking to myself, well, that's sovereignty. That's what's happening. People are saying, wow, look what I can do. Oh, hell yeah. Watch me. I mean, it's fascinating to see this. It's fascinating to sit with people who I've been having collaborations with for 2 and 3 and 4 years and see the amazing being in front of me and their journey because I've known them. And I'm sure people vice versa. There's a lot of it going on.
I love that. I found a bunch of journals. So I love to write. I don't share a lot of it. I feel like I kind of started to a little bit through my last relationship. I don't know, something shifted in that, and I felt like I had more confidence or something. And even after, like you said, with the grief, that sparked something else, another poem that I shared. So there's something in that. But I've saved all my journals since I was like really young, like a little kid.
Wow.
Yeah, I just found, because I was pitching a whole bunch of stuff. I go through waves of releasing old stuff, right? When it's time. It's not always like it goes in waves, but I did it a couple days ago. So I'm like, and I found I've been doing a lot of work around debt. For anybody that's been watching the videos with Jason, you'll know from our wealth series, like there's a ton of releasing and clearing around debt, and not just with money, but relationships and imbalances and energy and stuff like that. And so I found all these old bills, and I didn't even realize I still had them because I have 2 different bins, storage bins. Anyway, so I'm just ripping those up, and that feels so good into all these little pieces and like pitching them. And then I'm like, okay, I knew I had journals from when I was a kid, but I didn't realize how many I have. Yeah. And then reading those is a trip, right? It's like,
oh my God, I wish I had that. So what was that like reading it? I bet was it, that would be like people talk about, getting in touch with your inner child and stuff. Well, wouldn't that be an instant, almost like a bilocation, reading you 10, 15 years ago.
Even longer than that. Like I must have been 7, 8, 9, 10. Like I'm 37 now. I turned 37 in February. So whatever the math is, but like, and then like, so through like younger years, then through high school, I'm like, those were some dark ass times, like reading some, and like, I feel like that's a completely different person, but yeah, like, it's about just kind of holding space, and there's a lot of healing that comes through that. So it's like, wow. I mean, I'm still processing a lot of pain, but like, yeah, to have that perspective it was like, whoa. And of course, as I'm going through the journals, I'm finding like old pictures of family and old notes that my friends and I used to write, and I'm not in touch with any of them, family included. So it's a journey. It's a huge journey.
Oh, man. And I feel like there's like multiple streams running now, and I guess they always have been, but for all of us, but it's like I don't know how to explain it, but like, have you ever been to a restaurant and you go to the really nice restaurant where they won't let, the fingers touch the plates, and the guy comes out and he's got a plate, it's all up his arms. You know what I mean? And they come out and they won't allow, I think the person has to grab it or something. I don't know. But anyway, I feel like that. I feel like we've got all these streams coming online, and yet we're conscious of them all, but we're not 100% conscious, but we can tap in very easily. And it's not like you would think either. It's not like, oh, well, this one's Syrian and this one's dragon and this. No, it's like the way you see things, the way you hear things, the way you communicate, your level, so it's all this stuff changing. That's, I guess, in the human experience, multidimensional in another way.
Yeah. And realizing that like all that past stuff, because it's interesting when you go on that journey, whether it's you're going through physical stuff or processing it energetically, that it's easy to get wrapped up in it or identify as that or attach to it. Yeah. And to realize that like, that's not you, right? Like we're working to clear this stuff. And then a lot of people that are experiencing this, and I am too, of like, once that stuff, you separate yourself and you realize that that's not part of you. It's like, who am I? What's left? Right? Yeah. And
the little deaths. That's the basis of grief. And Morgan and I were talking about this period, right? And Michael and the different synchronicities. And I'm like, if it feels like, why is grief so big? And then I had my own things coming back and all that, like you were talking about. And I got to the point I thought, well, wait a minute. If grief goes, death goes, right? Because that's really what brings grief. It's some kind of death. You know what I mean? It may not be someone's physical death. It may be the death of a job or a relationship. You know what I mean? But if grief is transmuted in these types of terms, in this context, then Katie bar the effing door. You know what I mean? We're going to see some people dancing.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people holding on, right? Holding on with dear life of their past, of anything, that identity, like who they were, past relationships, past ways of being, because it's like, okay, without that, it's like it's infinite possibilities without that, and people don't realize that they're clinging on so much, and they're over here that they're not seeing this like miraculous opening of infinite everything. You can create whatever you want, and just be.
That's right. They're gonna see it, because you cannot clear. Well, let's just call it shadow, whatever. The work that you're doing, the work you've been doing for a year. It's not a coincidence that you're finishing. It's not a coincidence. The timing of it is not a coincidence. You're about to expand. You've embodied something. So, just as this is inevitable and let go or be dragged, it's inevitable. Part of that inevitability is that we are divine beings, that this physical vessel is just a different look for our consciousness. That's all. So this is like a kick-ass trip, because we're actually going to be, creating stuff with our fingertips. I'm sold. Physical teleportation. I'm sold. I didn't blink an eye. Morgan, you need to go to Australia. And 2 days later, well, I can't go that detailed, but it was a physical experience. I shit you not. I think we're getting little flashes of where we're headed. That's the only way we could take it. And Jason describes it so well, because it's broken down, and Franco does the same type of thing a different way. But man, the smile on Franco's face and Jason's face, because Franco and Jason, they both have the same type of I don't want to say template, but they both have the same function. They're both very, very, and so it's obvious. And I could see where, being in that situation, it'd be really hard. You'd have to work really hard to say, okay, everybody, we're all in the same. You know what I mean? Because that's part of their role. They're there to convey this information. But this past month, or what? This past month, they both came on, and I've done many shows with both of them. They're both like little kids. Their energy was like a little kid.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how did that? Well, it makes sense, because for all this time they've been waiting, and it's actually here. You see it on their faces. This shit's going down.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, I don't even want to think about 2022, because I don't want to miss anything.
Right. I know somebody was asking on Jason's wall, like, he put the May post up with all the updates. So I was like, okay, cool. So what about June? Like, guys, let's just enjoy this month. Like, let's actually enjoy the ride, because that's amazing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I think I was talking to Franco, trying to I don't know. Anyway, so it was like, okay. Oh, because he says, look, we've moved out of manifestation. It's the same timeline Jason's talking about. We've moved out of manifestation into creation, and there's a difference. And he explained it. And I said, yeah, it's crazy, because it's like we have this precog now. We can see things. We can see alignment. We don't know how to get there. And if we spend our time thinking about how to get there, we lose that flow, right? That you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, again, different math, different language, different way we dress, the feeling, because the body's gotten so loud. Like the body's telling you, hey, don't do that. Go do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that you just brought that back into my awareness about the like just focusing like one step at a time and what's in front of you. And even like I need to take my own advice and everything I was just saying, because I'm approaching master level coursework next after this. That's the next progression. And right now it's not clear like what day it's going to start and all these things. Like there's financial stuff I'm working out. And I'm finding myself in this like wanting to control it, or like I had it a certain way, like I'm going to finish tomorrow, I'm going to start the next day, and like it's all going to go smoothly, right? And like I realized today, messaging Jason about it, I stepped back and I'm like, I'm trying to force this. I had this expectation in the way I wanted it to look, and I just need to let that the fuck go and get back into my flow.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because discipline, I mean, flow has its own type of discipline. Every word's changing from where we were to where we were at. Mm-hmm. But there is, it's not the, we don't, yeah, you can't force anything. You can't push anything. You just can't, nothing, you know? And I think, that's another way, I guess, as I'm thinking about it in this moment of this period, this threshold that we seem to have just crossed. And that doesn't even make sense because it's like you're crossing it, but you're still walking through it. It's like one of those conveyors at the airport. You just stand there. It's like going like that. Holy shit, what's happening? You know, but yeah, I think that's another way to explain it. This consciousness, the change in the consciousness, the change in the experience, yeah, is you know, you can't push it. Discipline doesn't even make sense. Using the word discipline. But there is a discipline to it. I mean, we've made it a lifestyle, a way of life, haven't we?
Totally. Yeah, it's been a huge learning for me, especially this past year. It's like I started coursework and then I met my partner at the time. And then I thought I was going to move there. And it was like all these things. And again, like that kind of built up on all these expectations or pressure. And then having to unravel from that and realize like, you know, we were both trying to push something. And it's the same thing with like, because I've been, even before this relationship, I was like, I've known I'm going to be moving from Toronto at some point, right? Like, I'm like, when I say like, okay, I'm still here. Why am I here? Well, I've had to really ground and to really settle and find stability in myself before anything, right?
Yeah.
And so last year, it wasn't just, okay, this relationship and this amazing thing and running towards that, but it was also running away from here. And that was like a huge thing that I had to find acceptance around. And really, that's been a big part of my healing since then, is like really stabilizing and settling here. And I know it's going to come when it's meant to, and it's going to align perfectly. But if I try to force something, or if I try to run away from something, like, forget it.
That's right. That's right. And that includes, because it is all becoming clearer that it's all energy. And it can be, you know, it can be looked at a different way. Like, say, you know, you say to me, I got this problem, let me fix it. That'll, you know what I mean? Like, that's not how this works. You know, I had a long talk with one of my kids last night, 20 years old. I got a problem. Let's talk about your problem. I didn't say, I'm going to fix it. That program's been gone a long time. And because of that, we could have this discussion, right? Because it works both ways. She's done for me, I've done for her by, you know, honoring this whole stay in your own lane thing. Let it happen organically. That's it. If I get out of my lane, I'm forcing myself. I'm impeding on somebody somewhere. My lane is my lane. I take care of Todd. That's my highest contribution to the universe.
It's so awesome when there's no agendas and we can just show up in a space with each other and not have any. It's like even these lives, like when I first started doing the lives with Jason, I was like, oh my God, like even in the conversation, I was like worrying about, okay, like what am I going to say next? And oh my God, I have to have such a great question, or like whatever. I found myself la. And then it's like, okay, that just needs to go right out the door. And I'm not going to be focused. I'm not going to be in my flow. And now it's like I show up, I'm just in the flow. Like it's everything. And a lot of my past relationships were that very like trying to fix it or codependent, you know, very like intertwined, and like, no, that doesn't work anymore.
No, it doesn't. Codependent doesn't work. Agenda doesn't work. It's and I think we've gotten past. If we haven't, we are getting past the point of judgment of oh, you know, they've got agenda, or you know, oh, you know what I mean. But it's gone. It's gone. You know, I think Jason and Franco both talked about in their own way. In fact, I know they did. And because I mean, I go back with Jason 2018 when he came out, and Franco about the same time, that at some point something's been removed, and it could be said another way, but you know, like for instance, Franco talks about the projection of the inverted 3D, an overlay on organic 3D. Let's just say something like that. That gets pulled away. The only rhythms of let's just say distorted 3D or whatever you want to call it are running through our ego engagements. That's what fed the ego, but the ego's not being fed now because we're evolving, and this is just a metaphorical, right? But so think about that. If that was, you know, depending on who you talk to, Jason, Franco, who you would refer to, that happened early in 2020. So think about that. You know what I mean?
Major deflation happened, and it's like all the masks are started to fall off and are continuing to fall off, because if you're not true to you and the way you show up in the world, again, that's gonna backfire on you pretty quickly, and that's what we're seeing. So yeah. And I think the other thing, and what you were talking about, the judgment thing, you know, or how we show up in these interactions, is not taking it personally. Like if we can show up and we can just be really transparent with each other around, like, even to call out, like I was saying on one of my lives with Jason, like calling my own shit out in a conversation with a friend, where I can be like, you know, I feel like this is really triggering me right now, or I'm judging this, or like whatever. And you can show up and you're not going to take that personally, and you can work through that. That's that expansion in their connections as well. It's so beautiful. Yes,
that's very well articulated, very well. And it, you know, with the expansions that we go through, we obviously do this through a lot of reflection, and it's like a life review, you know, except we're doing it here, you know. And so you do see things, and I you know, how do I say this? There's a lot to be said for the embodied physical action words that somebody can speak to another. You know, to be able to go to a place where you've had a situation, and by no means were you, in the old vernacular, you were the victim. You got pounded on. To go to that, we do a lot of shadow work, we do a lot of zero point. To be able to go to that person and say, hey, I'm sorry for what I did. I don't have any, you know, problem with you anymore. Hope open or whatever, right? And actually mean it, and actually be in alignment, and actually not have an expectation or a care to how they react, but trusting this whole thing, trusting it, right? I mean, that's a powerful thing to observe, and I've seen that, and I've seen it recently, and it's powerful. You know, it really is. I believe that we are our own healers. We are, you know, But when I see something like that, I become a believer that, hey, I can assist you. You can assist me. Now, I don't know the quantum mechanics and physics and all that of it, but I see where what we've done in ourselves can be replicated, you know, maybe mirrored. I don't know how you would put it, but
because more and more people are showing up authentically. Yeah. And when you do that, it has a huge ripple effect. Because then it's like, oh, I can be myself. Again, that like, oh, wait, I can be free. I can like let go of this.
That's all we have to do to make this happen. Just be myself.
Exactly. Holy shit. So simple.
Well, and you know, you're really bringing up a good point that hasn't been brought up, or I don't think we've discussed this. I love the way that you bring in these, and this is, to me, this is it right here. This is the conversations, like you said, this is it. You show up, there's no agenda, and your description of I didn't know you were doing videos with Jason. I think I saw part of one. So I know what you were talking about when you have all those thoughts in your head, right? But to be able to go to somebody and say, and like your friend, you're triggering, I'm being triggered. I'm being triggered. I'm uncomfortable. That's good information. That's great information. And that is transparent. And it may be that that a part of me that is true, it's not going to change. They see it and they just say no. Or you say no. I mean, that's okay, right?
Because the thing is, it's there. If you don't call it out, if we can't be transparent with each other, it's in the field. That shit's going to be lingering around, right? So then when we have these interactions and there's this buzz in between or there's this distortion, it's not serving anybody, right? Then there's more stuff that will bounce off each other, take things personally. We start getting in our heads and thinking, like, how many times does something happen and you think it's about you, right? And then you go in this rabbit hole as opposed to just coming into your center and being just straight up with the person. Mm-hmm. Clear it. Like, it doesn't need to be this complicated. We don't need to be creating, like, we're here to enjoy our lives. Like, let's just have fun.
People are okay with no.
Yeah.
People are becoming okay with no. I've noticed it on messages, with Soulogy, you get a lot of messages, and I've talked about it over the months, and people, we live in this push button codependent. We were living in that frequencies, and somebody sends you a note, and they say, "Oh, they've read it, but they haven't commented back," or And so, but what I've noticed is that people are okay with the no's, with they're not being afflicted by expectation. Because I think that we can listen to the Francos and the Jasons, and I absolutely find them invaluable, and people like them. Everyone's got a piece, but to me, the things that make me more fervent and convicted, are seeing the humans, that type of change, that type of alteration or transformation in our lives. Because there's got to be a reason we're 99% conscious here. The human is here. The human is an equal. We are all that, and we're in the physical body. I mean, this is like a rare opportunity.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's getting out of what you mentioned about that, like, obligation energy. Like, okay, all these people message me, I've got to get back to them. Like, if you find yourself in that energy, like, no, no, that doesn't serve you, right? Get out of it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think it was Christy Sparkman's, sorry if I got your name wrong, I think that's correct. Her post,
wasn't that bad? That was fucking badass. I posted it in Soulogy. I think 200 people hit it.
Yeah.
I mean, that
mic drop moment. That was everything. That post that summarizes what we're talking about here. 100%.
Yeah. You know what? I saw that thing, and I'd seen her around before, and she's been a supporter.
Yeah, she's awesome.
When I saw
her in the chat, here for the human. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, when I saw that, I hit her up, and she wrote me back. I just got it, so she's going to come on.
Nice.
Pick her brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's it. I mean, and we can, again, the words are just like, they're futile, but I can only, like, what I saw in her is what I see happening. And what it is, it's this part of us, and you can call it the suppressed divine feminine or the goddess energy. I don't know, whatever. But it's definitely been in all of us. It's definitely not been a dominant feature out here in a patriarchal, realm. But if you read that thing that she wrote, you could just say, I love you unconditionally. And if you think anything different, fuck off. But I still love you unconditionally.
That summarizes it. And, something that's coming up for me as you're talking that through is, like, it's not just about, like, I can relate to this journey of, like, that energy coming up, that, like, fuck you energy, right? Yeah. But it's not about that anymore and about lashing out at the person or the thing or whatever happened. Now it's that energy, but it's like, I am sovereign in myself. Like, it's not a projection. It's an embodiment, and it's like I'm good in me, and I'm going to honor me. And
That's
it's not
right.
about any.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. And there's and that's the thing, right? Like you the fuck you is probably not the right way to say it, but I mean, it's like I'm honoring myself. I'm honoring myself, which means I'm honoring the universe because I'm one and the same, you know. And if somebody has a problem with that, that's what I mean. Like, I'm sorry, I don't love you any less, but F off. You know, I mean,
very not sorry. Yeah.
you know, I mean, you know, just it's just, yeah, it's almost like there's certain parts of the soup that are, let's say, regional, right? Let's say that vibrationally or whatever, and we're just finding the cells that we thrive with. Right? So it's not a big deal. It's not like you shake hands and part company. I mean, it may look that way, but one is one. You come together once, you come together forever, right?
Absolutely. And I think we need to let go of this idea that we need to be maybe friends with everybody or communicating or sharing our energy with everyone again from that obligation energy, and really just tune in and see what feels reciprocal, where you're noticing that reciprocal energy. Like I was talking to a friend the other day where she was like, every conversation she has with this person, she's always, you know, she's trying to get something from her. And this time she didn't say anything. She just showed up. And there was no conversation because it was all one-sided, right?
Right.
So the more
she didn't say anything.
She didn't say anything.
That was smart. See, Morgan
she was like,
yeah.
Okay.
Morgan taught me that a long time ago. She used it on me first as the instruction. And it clicked and it works. And that is, you just go quiet. Right? Like if something is that, you know, I hate to say imbalance because I think we're all beating at the same vibration. But if something is that off, right? Well, she says things like, then they can hear themselves. She also used another example of a rubber band. Like if that's being projected out and you grab the end of the rubber band, then that's never gonna, right? But if you don't grab it, then basically the energy just sits with them. And I've actually applied that in a lot of ways with myself, but also with others. And it's been incredible. Even on the show, I'll just let it roll. And I've had many cases where, and I understand it, you know, excitability, and it might be 20, 25 minutes. And then it's like, boing, you know, a light bulb goes off and it's all energetic and it all changes. And then we have a kick-ass, you know, higher frequency type of thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing we've been talking about, like with the energy. The more we're projecting out, we're not looking at ourselves. So if you're not feeding into that, if it doesn't feel right, then it gives the person the opportunity to really tune in and to sit with themselves.
That's right.
And by you doing that, you're showing an example of how to show up authentically and in a balanced way.
That's right. Exactly. I keep telling Morgan, you know, the point's going to come where I'm not saying anything. Nothing needs to be said, right? And it's weird because I do this every day. And it's very strange. But I think what you said earlier is that energy and what you said, that you show up, no agenda. You described what was going on in your head, which anyone that's ever done this is how it goes. But you can find this space of, hey, I almost feel like telling people sometimes, man, I didn't put on any deodorant. I smell like a dog. I'm in my underwear, right? And my shirt's really wrinkled because I just pulled it off of the dirty clothes, you know, or whatever. But like everything. And I think that's what you're saying.
Just show up, just be you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. My bride she's messaging me. She just woke up.
So when you move there, you're not going to physically need boxes because you're going to have this teleportation thing figured out. So it'll just be like,
yeah, I don't know how it goes. I've been going there. And so like last night, I saw a little bit more of it. And so this isn't really about us. But it's like, what's this going to look like? And to me, it feels more and more like we're in a dream state. like the like there's another element like plasma or something. There's just something, the connectivity and I can't explain it, but in dream state, what I recall from myself is I'm very conscious of where I'm at. It could be a room, it could be a house, it could be a forest, whatever, but it's like almost like my space. And so last night I was just kind of playing with that, or it was being shown to me. I could see her space. And here's my space. And then you have like they're domes, and then they kind of connect. And there's, you know what I mean? And I guess what I'm trying to say is I could see where what you just said could be true for all of us. We move from my space to your space or our space, just as we do in other dimensions and in dream state, but we're in physical bodies. And if that's the case, what else, you know what I mean? I really feel like that's where we're going.
Me too. So cool.
I can't believe I made it through 2 shows this morning.
You're
really
right.
Can't. No,
I mean,
I feel so off. I feel like, I don't know. But I really, I want to tell everybody that, Skyelar, I didn't know the extent of your journey, number one. I kind of felt it. I knew we were like kindred for a reason because we're both hellraisers, I can tell. And, but you are doing it. I've had to collaborate and interact with a lot of people. You come in, and I'm just going to say it. It's the new professionalism. It's the non-pressure. So I just want to say thank you. You're the real deal. I didn't know you were a practitioner. I didn't know you were doing videos with Jason, and I would highly recommend Skyelar and Jason and what they're doing. But you, on a personal level, you're a badass. You're the Christy Sparkman writer.
Yeah. Oh, it's no accident that we've connected as well the way we have. Same thing, kindred spirit, right? But thank you so much for saying that and for seeing me and for having me on the show. Second you asked, it was like a big fuck yes. So letting me just swear as well. I feel like Jason has more of he has like kids that watch his show, so I'm always like
yeah, well, we haven't crossed that bridge yet. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
I'll be talking to you tonight. Is it tonight?
Yes, it is tonight if you're up for that still.
Yeah, what time is that at? Do you know?
9 Eastern.
Okay, we got time.
You've got time.
So I'll touch base with you and we'll collaborate again if you're up to it.
Sounds good.
If you want to.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate this. I appreciate that all that you and Morgan do. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone that's been here. This has been awesome.
Yeah, it has been. Thank you so much. We'll see y'all probably tomorrow, unless Todd gets a wild hair tonight. Who decides to do something. All right. I'll see you later.